Realism comes from Kenneth Waltz and the original theory of neorealism, and it is when a country has self-national interests that lead to have power and have relative gains in cooperation, also creating an anarchy in respectively to other states, having a security dilemma in the country and having a balance of power. Idealism. Idealism comes from Kehoney and Nye in 1977, that it is based in ethical principles by cooperating in order to solve problems by international and different institutions having a consensus with other countries in the world, allowing the country to have free trade and assure collective security and other complex interdependence by a diplomatic system. Conflicts. Nationalist conflict is a conflict where two or more groups have a different nationality fighting for one. Each group thinks its own nationality is the one that should be over everyone else because of their political identity and loyalty, and their nation is better than the other. The leaders support and promote their hyper-nationalist ideas. Ethnic. Two or more ethnic groups that fight for the recognition, autonomy, and equality in a territory or for an independence from it. These conflicts are mainly identified conflicts and internal conflict with ideologies, government, religion, and environmental issues. Economics. Economics is a conflict between two or more parties wanting to get the most that they can to get any type of resources. Political. This conflict is between at least two persons and is positional difference regarding values relevant to a society, lies beyond established procedures and the order of the law. Territorial. A territorial conflict is the one which two or more groups, states, or countries fight to gain a piece of land that it can involve war and death. Examples. In the ethnic conflict, Syrian Kurds have long been suppressed and denied basic rights. Some 300,000 have been denied citizenship since the 1960s, and Kurdish land has been confiscated and redistributed to Arabs. In the economics, Syria, Russia is very interested in this war, talking about the economic situation because the Assad regime is not client for the Russian military industry, and also strategic interest because Syria is the last Russian access to the Mediterranean Sea. They happened to Cologne battle, which consisted of Hezbollah attacking Syria, and the Syrian conflict is mixture of local, regional, and international issues.
In 1967, Israel occupied the Palestinian areas and Israeli troops stayed there for years. Israel finally left Gaza in 2005, but soon after, a group called Hamas won elections and took control there. Much of the world calls Hamas a terrorist organization. It refuses to recognize Israel as a country. After the protests, Crimea had two options to unify with Russia or to be an independent country, but the US and the European Union reported a 97% vote to join Russia. Days after, Putin signed a treaty annexing Crimea. There were no dead soldiers but one. They never knew who killed them. President Yanukovych called Crimea's annexation to Russia a tragedy from Russia. After a decade that the Darfur War began, they are still in a big economic problem and more than 1.4 million people still rely in extreme poverty, and they still get food and clothing from donations and from handouts in camps, and also many others due to the big problem have left the country. It's a group of people that call themselves the Islamic State. They started the group after the Civil War and the fight against the regime, and every day there's more people wanting to get in this group. They are also against infidels and apostates. This is a nationalist conflict because both Palestine and Israel think that nationalism is the most important, because in the territory the two of them have sacred lands which meant a lot for each one of them. And that's why they both fight for the territory, because they think their nationalism should be respected.